This is something that we started doing here. Once a month we have community speakers, and this is a third presentation. First presentation that we did was honoring National Hispanic Heritage Month. We had a couple of speakers. It was really wonderful, very educational. And then the second community speaker series we had League of Women Voters here, and they spoke about the upcoming elections, gave a lot of information. And this is the third, and today we're going to be speaking about the war in Ukraine. Why does it matter to us and what we can do about it? So I thank you for coming out. This is really outstanding and wonderful and inspiring to have so many people here today. I know you may go, but there's still seats available. But trust me, this is really great. Thank you. Okay. Well, the first slide is already up, and you can see here's information about the presenters. First presenter is me. My name is Yuri Rashkin. I was born in Moscow, Russia, and I came to the United States when I was 13. Didn't speak any English, came with my mom and dad and my brother and our poodle. And skipping a lot of years ahead, most of you may know me either from the fact that I served on Janesville City Council, which I have from 2008 until 2012, and Rock County Board of Supervisors, District 16, downtown Beloit. Come on down, check out amazing things. We have a new stadium. Have you seen it? Skycarp, good stuff. So I've been on Rock County Board of Supervisors, and my co-presenter today, I'm very excited to have with us somebody who lived in Ukraine, came from Ukraine, and only about a month ago, Anastasia Gryb. Anastasia, come on up. And please give Anastasia a hand. Yes. Okay, all right. Staging is something we'll work on. But Anastasia was born in Ukraine, in Berdyansk, and she came to the United States at 16 with her mom, and they live in Janesville, and she is a student at Craig High School, junior, and I'm very excited because you have, supporters. It's awesome. How long does it take for a teenager to make friends? Not very long. Okay, it's good. All right, so the big main point of what we're dealing with in the war in Ukraine, to kind of give it a big frame, is we're dealing in a situation where we have democratic states going against authoritarian autocracies, countries that are led by will of the people versus will of a person. And that really helps, I think, to put the war that we're seeing in a proper context, and it helps to understand who are the really two sets of countries on each side, that you have these, sometimes they're referred to as these Western countries. Like, what is West? Because apparently Japan is part of the West, even though it's kind of East. But really West means just democratic states, where people can vote, and the votes are counted, and then whoever we elect becomes our leader, and then they deal with the problems, and if we don't like it, we change them. So that's democratic versus autocracy, and Russia is an autocracy, and the way I can summarize it is an autocracy. If one person at the top has a good meal, then the country is doing well. I try to find humor. All right, so I'm going to do kind of how we got here. So here's the plan. I'm going to give a brief recap, relatively speaking, of how we got here. Then Anastasia is going to share her story and how she got here. And then we would love to hear some questions from you. So please think of questions that you can ask, and we would love to answer them, because it's hard even for me, who lived in the United States for over 30 years, to truly understand things that can be curious to people who know much less than I do. So your questions very much help me. So thank you. All right. Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. There was a country like this that prior to that was Russian Empire, and the latest version of Russian Empire broke up in 1991, and it broke up into all these pieces because it consisted of republics, and each republic became its own state. If we look at this map, we can see that number 14 over there, that has a little peninsula there jutting into the Black Sea, that's Crimea. And so 14 is Ukraine. 11 is the biggest one, that's Russia. So you can see that there's quite a mishmash of different states, and Ukraine is one of the most kind of Western parts of that whole big formerly known empire, formerly known as Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, Союз Советских Социалистических Республик. Next, this is an important point to make, even though we in English don't talk about it very much. In Russian, in Ukrainian, this is talked about a lot, and that is the Budapest Memorandum of 1994. People go, Budapest? Memorandum? 94? So, as you can see on that picture, that's President Bill Clinton holding hands with Boris Yeltsin and leader of Ukraine, Leonid Kuchma. And there was an agreement signed because United States has a policy that the fewer countries have nuclear weapons, the better. We don't want nuclear weapons, every republic having their own silo. This is terrifying. It means we have to really just deal with everybody. So if we can all at least put them all in one place, then that would be better, we thought. And so Ukraine surrendered its nuclear weapons, which we still seem to agree is the best way to protect a country against being attacked, to Russia. And United States and other countries said that we will protect you should anything happen. So you can see where Ukrainians are like, what about that, Budapest Memorandum? Hello? And we're like, well, memorandum, it's not like a contract. It's like set of good wishes. And we really mean to help you. And we are but so there's different understandings of this, but that's part of our history. Russia has been at war a lot. Really, the way they built their empire is through war, and since '91, when they became their own country again, the end of Soviet Union, it's not like Russia stopped fighting. They had 2 wars with Chechnya, which is a part of Russia that was trying to separate. They had an attack on Georgia, which is one of the republics that separated, not Atlanta, Georgia, Russian Georgia. They have delicious food. If you ever have a chance to try Georgian food, it's the best. And they took a chunk of their land. The reason that I have this picture here is because we in the West have a hard time understanding how Russians are fighting because it doesn't make sense to us. It's so inhumane. If anybody ever seen a poster that says obey, that's kind of like the approach that Russian military has. You are given commands, you go and do it. If you die, well, you're a soldier. And so the generals get stars, generals get rewarded because they tell their soldiers to run and attack. Soldiers don't make it, the general gets a medal. There's horrendous stories about how, like Russia, Soviet Union lost, by some accounts, 20 million people in World War II. How come so many? Well, they're terrible at fighting. They basically, their logic is to drown the enemy in the dead body corpses of their soldiers. It's a horrendous way to fight, but this is why people in the Russian army are referred to as cannon fodder, and it's a meat grinder for a reason. In 2014, this was a very important year for Ukraine and for Russia because, first of all, they had a beautiful Sochi Olympics, which for some reason when dictators do well at Olympics, that really emboldens them. Like anybody remembers Hitler, he had a Berlin Olympics, and Germans did well there, and that seemed to have really emboldened them to think that they could do more. So there's this example, Russia did very well at the Sochi Olympics. While that was kind of ending, there was a protest and a revolution that broke out in Ukraine, different country. And they threw out their pro-Russia leader and kicked him out. He actually ran away to Russia. And at the same time as this country, Ukraine, is in a total upheaval, change of government, who knows who's running anything, like the country's on fire, Russia comes in and says, well, you're on fire anyway, we're just going to take this peninsula, this land here, Crimea, used to be ours, used to be Turkish, we're going to claim it now for us because you're busy with your other stuff. And they basically annexed part of Ukraine. Nobody agreed to this internationally. No country has really recognized this except for like Belarus, which is like almost a client state of Russia. I'm not even sure if Belarus really recognized Crimean annexation, but Russia grabbed a chunk of land, and ever since 2014, this has been going on. So when people talk about the war right now, there always has to be kind of like an asterisk clarification made that the war has actually been going on since 2014. It's just that the big war broke out on February 24th, 2022. And on one hand, I don't want to focus so much attention on one person. There are lots of people who say that he just really represents a system, he's a leader of a gang, whatever. But I want to highlight that this was his decision, that whatever happened, whatever we tried to do to stop him, this is the man who started the big war against Ukraine on February 24th. There's been 3 stages of war so far that have been widely acknowledged. First was when Russia thought that they could take over Ukraine in about 3 days. That was really bad planning on their part, in part because they bought in their own propaganda message. They paid their propaganda to tell them that Ukraine is corrupt. Well, they would know they've been corrupting it. That Ukraine is weak, that Ukraine is going to be pro-Russia. Anybody remembers we had this, well, not this exact, but something similar when with Iraq, when we thought that we were going to be greeted as liberators and things are going to be great, and then they didn't work out. This is a much more extreme example of the same situation where people are being told one thing and then reality doesn't work out, doesn't match up. So first stages of war, Kiev, they were not able to take Kiev at all. They failed. The Russians were so not prepared. They had their suits for parades in the tanks that were destroyed because they thought they were going to go straight to a parade. Victory Day. Stage 2 was the summer, where Russia thought that they were just going to send a ton of soldiers, throw it all this artillery, destroy everything in their path, and they're going to make it. Didn't work out because we've been helping a lot, and our weapons have done a lot of good together with Ukrainian soldiers fighting. It's been a really potent cocktail. Molotov cocktail? Never mind. And stage 3 is what we saw right now with really possibly the only bigger city that Russia's been able to take over, city of Kherson, where Russians were kicked out of there. And so now they're like kind of like balancing between stuff that they already grabbed, stuff that they wish, and it's like, what's going on now? What the West did, because we are consumer culture, so we believe that if we hit people's consumers in their wallets, in their pocketbooks, like we're being hit at gas stations, then surely the Russians will be the same as us and be like, the prices are up. We're not happy with this. Government, do something. Well, it's an authoritarian state. They function differently. So we can crush their consumer confidence all we want. They don't care. They measure things by different standards, frankly. Both people, like the rest of the folks, and the people at the top. None of them really care about, to the extent they wish they had Western goods. But they don't play the same role as we do if we go to the store and there's a shortage of toilet paper. Like, who is responsible for this? It's a different approach. So the sanctions have a really good long-term effect. Short-term, however, they're not very helpful because whatever weapons Russia has made, whatever weapons Russia has stored, they're there. They're being used. So this is good for long-term, but we're still in a kind of a short-term, kind of shifting actually into longer-term situation because Russia is running out of weapons. There's reports that they're buying like microwaves and washing machines and stripping them down for chips and processors for their weapons because they have to get them somewhere, so they're already scrambling. So the sanctions are working, but as long as the war is happening, the war is still happening, it's terrible, we need more. Help from America and allies. The United States has spent lots of billions of dollars, and for us as taxpayers, this is really important stuff. Like, look at our budgets, we've spent money, this is real money, they're buying real weapons, helping Ukraine. From Ukrainians' point of view, they're saying, wait a minute, we're still being bombed. This is not enough. And United States have really come together with NATO, which is that compass over there. Some people may not know what that is. That compass on the flag, it's a flag of an alliance, military alliance called NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And this is after World War II. Raise your hand. Never mind. There was World War II, and after World War II, all these countries, they decided to work together. Why? To protect themselves against the Russians. And so that's called NATO Alliance, a bunch of countries protecting themselves against Russia. So they've been activated. Other allies have been activated. We send all sorts of weapons to Ukraine to the point that they are naming their children javelins and HIMARSs and Stingers, and it's great. So like very helpful, and very importantly, every one of us and you here, I'm sure, have done something over the last 8-9 months, participated in some kind of fundraiser, did something. I mean, I took part in Music for Ukraine fundraiser where we raised, I think, like close to $20,000, if not more, for Ukraine. People every day have been really stepping up and helping because it's such an obvious we see who are the good guys, we see who are the bad guys. In fact, here on campus, I wanted to make sure, acknowledge, we have a police officer, or our officer, Nick Thompson. His son made bracelets this past summer for Ukraine, and they raised over $350. So, I mean, people are just been incredible. And I think it's that combination of government help and people help and allies has really made a difference. But as in all situations, it's not enough until there's victory. How will the war end? All wars end at negotiation table. Here in Janesville, we actually know this because of Parker Pen. Because I believe at least Second World War, possibly even first, but definitely second, was ended with signatures by Parker Pen, with the Parker pens. So significant moments, but that requires two sides. Russians keep saying, oh, we know that, United States runs the show. They're not going to be like, it's not up to Ukraine. It's whatever United States decides. United States keeps saying, no, this is up to Ukraine. We're here to strengthen their position on the battlefield and at the table of negotiations. So this is nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. There's no conspiracy, because Russians love conspiracy, because they've been so corrupted by propaganda that it's like expectation of a conspiracy. So they think that, since America runs the world, then I'm sure it's up to them. No. This is Ukrainians that have to decide. Well, Ukrainians are doing actually pretty good right now on the battlefield. They're not really interested in sitting down at the table of negotiations. Plus, they don't trust Putin because he breaks every agreement he's made. It's kind of a difficult situation. Russia, on the other hand, would kind of like to sit down and kind of lock things in place before they lose everything. So there's this kind of a situation. But eventually, they will have to sit at a negotiation table. We're just watching when this is going to happen. And what we can do, kind of my call to action here. There's three main things. Number one, vote and run for office, because politicians make a difference and make decisions on, for instance, amount of help. Right now, President Biden proposed another huge packet of help because, frankly, I don't think he has confidence in the future Congress, so he wants to get it done and locked in place right now. Those things are important. They matter. We go like, what does government do? Like democracies, autocracies, those are decisions, it filters down to us as voters. And also we can run for office and make a difference that way. Two, we can inform politicians, and I think everybody here has probably written a letter to a politician more than once. I have a friend who says that it's more productive to write a nightly email to President Biden versus saying a prayer. You decide which one is more effective. And third, travel. I think traveling is really, really important and helping us understand how other people live, how we're all on this planet together. Because, like, for instance, if Russia uses nuclear weapons and misses everything, and they just hit Russia, which could happen, this is still going to be terrible for all of us because we're on the same planet. And so travel, explore, and thank you for your time. At this point, I'd like to bring Anastasia out because this was a big picture. Now let's hear about personal experience. So thank you. All right.
Hello, I'm Anastasia. I'm 16 years old and I'm Ukrainian. My English is not very well, but I will try my best and Yuri will help me. So I want to talk today about my life this year. And first, my months when war started, I was in my city. And my city, Berdyansk, was occupied from the beginning of the war. And I lived there for months with my mother. And it was really terrible. It was the most terrible time in my life. And I will remember it all my life because now war, it's a big part of my life and it will be with me forever. And it's got me a lot of pain. And now I want to show you some pictures because we need to understand that it can happen everywhere because people sometimes choose bad things, like Putin, he's dictator, and he choose a bad way because he want to take Ukraine. He doesn't count us like a country. He counts us like territory. And everyone say in Ukraine, but Russia say on Ukraine, because they think that we are just a land and he can take us and use us. Russia always want to kill our culture, our customs, our people. All our story, Russia wanted and killing our story and our people, and it's a really terrible thing, really terrible. They forbidden Ukrainian language in Советский Союз? Soviet Union, and they did really terrible thing. And right now I want to show you some pictures. First of all, this picture was took in Kiev. It was first day of war, and people lived like this for months. And it was really terrible, because women gave birth in metro. And these children died because they were very, very cold. And it was really terrible. I did this picture. We had a lot of people who escaped from Mariupol, and they lived in Berdyansk. And not all escaped, because they was killed on the way to Berdyansk. Like Russian soldiers just can shot on you and you will die.
Can you say what it says on the sign?
It's mean children. They put children on their car, and it was like a way to survive. Because if someone will say that, someone will see that children on a car, it means that you can shoot, but they did. They shoot it on this car with this sign. When war started in my city, it was a terrible thing, because we hadn't a food at our stores. It was empty. It was totally empty. You can't buy porridge, toilet paper. There were only alcohol and gums. It's only what they left in our stores. And we haven't pills in our hospitals, and it was really terrible. And right now, some people who want to commute to Ukraine, to my town, they can't take pills with them. And Russian soldiers just take these pills, and no one can transfer pills for people who need it. And I have my grandma and my grandpa in my Berdyansk, and my grandfather need pills, but he can't take it because there are no pills in the Berdyansk. They have Russian pills, but it's another, and it's very, very, very high price. And I don't know when I will see my parents and my family, because it's very hard, because you can't go to Berdyansk, because they think that Berdyansk is part of Russia, but no, it's not, and it will never be. It's picture from Mariupol. I will show you a lot of pictures from Mariupol today. It's terrible, because I really liked my life in my town. I had my family near me, I had my friends near me, I traveled, I studied, I had all what I need, and I had the most important thing, it's my family near me. And like, can we imagine that it's your flat there, and in one moment you just lost all your life. Like, you haven't car, like you haven't flat right now, you haven't your home, you can't return to your home, and it's a terrible thing. I really happy that my town wasn't bombed like Mariupol, it's really scary. And I will show you how people made and making right now their meal, their food, like this. People live right now like this. It's boy, I think he's 16 or 15 years old, like me. And people just surviving. And yeah. Our country is really very beautiful, like our nature, but Russia just want to destroy all our country, but every time when Russia want to destroy us, we became only stronger. And I know that we will win, and we don't need another land. We need only our home, only our house, only our land. We don't need to take part of Russia. It doesn't matter for us. We just want to return our home. And it was Mariupol before war. It was before, and it's right now. Yeah. It's terrible. And I know that when war will finish, it will be very hard years because we need to build everything from the scratch, and it will be very, very, very hard. And I will show you one more. It's the first day of war, and you can see buildings from your window like this, but one day you just wake up and you see this. And in these flats lived a lot of people, and now they haven't their house. And I don't understand how Russians can be so blind and deaf, and how they can't understand that it's happening right now in Ukraine, and Putin is just a dictator who want to use our land. And they destroyed, they killed a lot of our people when we were starving, and Russians don't know that it was with our country. Stalin, he just took everything from our land. Как сказать? Пшеница, зерно, все. Grain, yes. Stalin, he just take all grain, and people hadn't food at all. And I recommended you to watch some films about this, and it's really scary when people haven't food at all. And he gave them one bread for one family for months or weeks, I don't remember exactly. And they every time think that people in Ukraine is just как быть рабы? Как? No, рабы. Slaves. But no, Ukrainians are not slaves. We people, and we have a right to live like everyone. And it's really terrible. And I will show you that Ukraine, it's not a land. It's like country. It's independent country. And it's so beautiful, such beautiful country with such cool and interesting people and with beautiful culture. And I think that if war wouldn't start, we had a chance to be more powerful, more beautiful, more success country. We had our problems with corruption, it's true, but we didn't need Putin in our land. And I had a lot of friends and relatives in Russia, and I spoke with them. It was like we had some troubles with them. But one day when war started, they just called to us and say, you need this war. You need Putin at your house. It's really useful because Putin is the best president ever. And I said that no. And now I haven't friends and relatives in Russia. No, I haven't it anymore. And I can understand why people there can't fight. In Ukraine, when we had a bad president and we didn't like what he did, we just fight it. We had a Maidan, we had revolution, and we did it. We can choose who we want to see on our parliament. We can do this. And every 4 years, we can choose new president. Russia can't. They have only Putin, and it's really terrible. And I don't know why people there have another understanding of government. Government need to help you, and government in Russia just steal their money, and Putin doesn't care about his citizen. He doesn't care. He care only about himself. Why he didn't want? Why he wanted this war? Because Ukraine want to go to join to NATO. Why he cares about our country? We can do everything what we want. We independent country. We can choose where we want to go and what we can do. But he cares about himself because in one of his interview he just said, if Ukraine will be a part of NATO, NATO's rockets will be near Russia. And he will have only 8 minutes to go to his basement because he really cares about himself, not about everyone else. And why everyone know about Ukraine war? Why everyone know about this war? Because right now in this time there are a lot of wars, Israel and other different countries. But why everyone speak about and know about Ukraine? Because it's the most bloody and the most brutal war in the history, in our history, because they rape women, they rape children, they rape boys and small children, and it's terrible things. They steal our toilets and they just steal our stuff from our houses, and they torture some people. They tortured our friend in my town. He just had broken bones here, and he couldn't breathe, and he just let him out because he didn't eat and he didn't breathe like normal person, and they just let him out. And his family just take him, and right now they are caring about him, but it's terrible. Why people so brutal, and their behavior looks like barbaric. It's terrible. And I think that one thing that Russians can do is change their mind. Like why you can't use like Google and just you can do this. You can go to Google and just look at this picture. It was on the first days of war in Ukraine. It was a region of Kiev, where Putin said that he will take Ukraine for 3 days. And it was such terrible thing because a lot of roads, there were a lot of died people, and they just lied there, and they just were killed by Russian soldiers. It was civilian people without weapons and without defense, but Russian soldiers decided to kill them. And I will show you this town before war. Oh, it's not about Ukraine, it's something else. Oh, no. Now we can see only picture after war. Yes.
Should we take some questions? Should we take some questions?
Yep.
All right, good. Yes, please.
What is your opinion of President Zelensky and how he's doing?
President Zelensky, I think he is a good person. And when he decided to be a president, he had a good intentions. But I really respect him because he, right now in Kiev, he didn't leave Ukraine, and he really say everywhere about this war, and he is really helpful, and he is doing his job very well. But I'm not sure about his diplomatic skills. I think that he hadn't before war, he hadn't enough skills to be a president. And I don't like his people who come with him. It's our court, it's our parliament. I don't like it really because it's only managers and it's not a politics. So I'm not sure about these people, but I'm really happy that right now the president of Ukraine is Zelensky, because he is really support and it's very important.
Another question?
The media, I've been seeing things about that there's a lot of Russian people, and have been for months, that don't want to fight and kill, and that are fleeing the government and fleeing men, and, you know, that don't want to kill, you know, and I hear reports of that. And how do you feel? I know it must be hard to have compassion for a country that's killing your people, but can you see, and is it true that there are people that don't want to do that on the other side and feel forced because they'll be killed, right, if they don't do what they're supposed to do? It's conflicting.
So everyone, I don't know about Russia, but everyone have a choice. And I think if you don't want to kill someone, you will not do it. And if you don't want to rape someone, you will not do it. But they did. They doing right now. So a lot of people who doesn't support this decision, Putin's decision about war. Right now, I think I saw a lot of people from Russia who support Ukraine right now, and unfortunately, it's not a very big part. The most part of them, it's people who watch their TVs, and this propaganda and this lie, it's just zombie, something like this. And I think that a lot of them, they just don't want to understand what's happening, because for them it doesn't matter. They just like the thing that they will have more land. Is it bad for them? No, it's very well, because they will have more land, more money. So, yeah.
Okay, I'd like to say thank you and welcome to Wisconsin, and I appreciate your courage for giving this presentation. But I do have a question. How do you keep in touch with and communicate to some of your family and friends back in Ukraine? How do you go about that?
Right now, the situation in Kiev very bad. My father, he can't leave Ukraine because he is man, and we have a mobilization. No one from men can't leave country, and right now they haven't light, and they haven't warm water, central heating. It's a bad situation, and right now they haven't internet connection. And I called to my father today and I spoke with him, and I'm really glad that I can do this. But I didn't spoke with my grandmother and grandfather because they right now in Berdyansk and they haven't connection. What happened when I was in Berdyansk? Russian just cut the connection, and one morning you just woke up and you saw that you can't call to someone because you haven't phone connection and internet connection too. And you just go to the center, and there were all people because they all had the same problem. And you just stand there and speak with your friends, and it was terrible because couldn't call my father and ask him how he is and what is happening right now in Ukraine because Russia didn't give us information. So it was terrible 1 month. And right now, sometimes I can connect with my grandmother and grandfather, but I'm really worried that I will not see them because I just don't know how I will go there, because I really hope that Ukraine will disoccupy our town and I will see them. I really hope. Yep.
Questions? Yes. Just fill out a impersonation.
Testing. Would you rather stay in Ukraine or stay in here and go back to Ukraine and fight for your country, or stay in here and help them from abroad so that you can feel safe? But yeah, sorry, I'm bad at questions.
Thank you. Ты бы хотела сражаться или жить здесь, или что?
Okay. I want to go to college here. I want to finish my education here, and I want to return to Ukraine because, of course, it's my native country and there are my family. But right now I can't leave USA. I really wanted to go to Ukraine next summer, but I can't leave this country because of this program which I came here. It's United for Ukraine. I can't leave USA for 2 years, and it's really upset because I really want to see my father, my brother, my grandmothers, and my granddad, but I will figure it out. So.
I don't really have a question. It's just I honor your bravery so much in sharing what's happened to you, what's happened to your family, and what's happened to your country. God bless you.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you had trouble getting permission to stay in the United States.
Sometimes.
I will just jump in as far as the paperwork and that kind of stuff. There is a program that allows a certain number of Ukrainians to come here as refugees for 2 years. And so that's the program that Anastasia came through here, is United for Ukraine, that program.
It's really hard to understand that you are in another continent and your father and your family, they are in another continent. And it's really very hard to commute there, because I remember how I commuted here and it was like 2 days. And I understand that my parents, my family there can't go here because it's so hard and expensive. And this thing every time visit my mind. And here I feel very lonely without my family, without my uncle who died because he was a soldier and he died 5 months ago on a military, in a war. And it's really hard to understand that it will be so long when you will meet your family again.
So I would say that there are a lot of challenges, but not all of them are legal. So in this case, at least the paperwork is not the problem. Yes.
Well, Ukraine's going to get smashed. Look at Kosovo. Look at Iraq. Right now, Russia is going after the shock and awe in Ukraine. They're sending missiles over to go and stop the trains, the highways, and so forth. And what you're going to see is Ukraine getting smashed. They were given a chance to go and negotiate out. Ukraine refused, or it didn't occur. And Russia is going to go in and smash Ukraine. You look at what is else occurring. The United States went with the monetary situation, and that has failed. What we're going to see is the U.S. dollar is not going to be reserve currency any longer, and that is shifting away from it. That's going to have vast problems within the United States. What you had was the breaking up of the gas pipeline from Russia to Germany, which is going to cause a recession in Germany, France, England, so forth. And the United States doesn't make anything anymore. It just buys stuff. And it can't buy stuff when you can't have anybody taking their debt. Yeah, I want to know what the justification when the United States invaded Kosovo. Why is that legal and Russia's invasion of Ukraine not legal?
All right. This is getting a little bit outside of what we're discussing here, so I will just say that Russians like to say, well, United States used nuclear weapons on Japan, why can't we? Is that a good reason? No. Another question. Yes, ma'am.
How hard was it for you and your mom to leave Ukraine?
It was so hard because first of all, when war started, I was 1 month in Berdyansk, and after that I went to Ukraine by convoys without my mother, and after that I went to Poland and I lived there for 1 month, and after that I lived in Germany 2 months. And it was really hard without parents, and it was really hard. And after that, I returned to Kyiv, and there I met my father and my best friend, and it was the most perfect time during all the war. And it was very cool because I spent a lot of time with my father and I was really happy. And when I knew that I will go to USA right now, because I had only 1 week to prepare for this, and I was confused because I really don't want to leave Ukraine right now. Yes, here is dangerous and here is very hard to live because price is very high and sometimes problems with lights and with alarms every time. I understand this, but my family is here. Not all my family, but my father and my grandmother and my best friend. And I was really happy there. But my father said that I need to go here because I need to finish my education. And it's really a big opportunity for me. And I decided to go, and after that my mother went from Berdyansk to Kiev, and I met her there, and I was so happy too. And right now it's very hard, and one day I just couldn't understand how hard understand that it's a very big distance between me and my father. It's so hard sometimes, and I'm always thinking about it. So
We have time for maybe 1 or 2 more questions. And all right, let me give you the microphone.
So my question is, how are you taking care of you and your mental health? You know, there's a lot going on, and everything you've been through. How are you, keeping yourself mentally healthy?
mentally healthy.
Yeah.
For me, it's very important that my mother near me, and she just support me, and my father and my best friend, they really support me, and I'm in touch with them every day, and I'm really happy that I have them because they always support me and say that everything will be okay and I can do anything what I need, what I want. So sometimes I don't know, I just watch some old Ukrainian movies, and I understand, and it shows me how strong we are and how brave we are, and it's give me a hope. So it's really support me.
That's wonderful. Are there any support groups here in Janesville that are targeted for refugees from Ukraine, such as yourself and your mom?
I'll answer that I would say that there is nothing that I'm aware of that is specifically targeted to Ukrainian refugees, because frankly, there's not that many in the area. But there are other resources that are available. And in fact, from here, we're supposed to stop in at the Rock County building because there was a fundraiser there. So got some things put together for like school supplies. So people are helping. It really is remarkable. And so let's maybe wrap it up at that point. But let's give a huge hand to Anastasia. It's really special. Thank you. One more? One closing thought. Well, Kathy, you're good at that. Go ahead.
Honey, first of all, I'm just, verklempt at that, your bravery. When you say there's hope and you believe that, that makes me have hope. And I see a face of a movement, because when someone talks about something they've been through and experiencing it, it's not just a news bite. It's not just something, there's real humans and real faces and real people behind this tragedy. And it's easy when you're removed from far away, but when you're faced to hear a young lady talk about it, it brings it home. And we are all the same, and we are connected, and I really applaud you and hope you don't give up, and I hope you keep doing this and keep talking.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will say that if there's any interest, I'm glad to come out and speak to groups, and sounds like Anastasia is pretty good at this stuff, so she can come out with me, and so reach out to me and we can set something up. Otherwise, thank you so much for being here, and you rock. Thank you. Слава Україні! Героям слава!